Welcome on board, Chosen One. Look who's finally stepping into the room they tried so hard to keep you out of. Funny how loud their mouths were back then, right? All that trash talk, all that fake confidence, all those little comments meant to make you doubt yourself. And now, look who's shaking behind closed doors. Look who's whispering your name like it's a threat. Look who suddenly wants to check in, apologize, clear the air. When they said you were nothing, they had no idea the universe was taking notes. When they laughed at you, mocked you, or tried to bury you, they didn't know they were building the perfect training ground for a mastermind. You didn't just survive their games, you mastered the battlefield they thought you'd lose on. They pushed you because they wanted a reaction, but you gave them something worse: silence, discipline, strategy. You made them feel stupid without ever raising your voice, and that's why today, Chosen One, the world treats you differently. There's a shift now. The air around you is heavier, quieter, almost tense. The same people who dismissed you now step back like they're afraid to trigger something, because they are. They know you changed, they know you learned, and they know you don't forget. Press the like button and subscribe to pay this message back, Chosen One. You're building something here, and your presence keeps this mission alive. Now let's keep going, because we're just getting warmed up. The universe didn't sharpen you for nothing. It prepared you because your mind became one of those rare, dangerous things nobody expects until it's too late. You walked through betrayal, humiliation, manipulation, and instead of breaking, you turned into someone who can read people like they're open files. You became the kind of person who lets enemies destroy themselves while you stand still. No dramatic speeches, no raging fights, just truth placed in the right spot at the right time. And the universe watched you do it with the calm of someone built for bigger arenas. Your enemies still talk, but the tone changed. You can hear it. Before, they joked about you. Now they whisper like someone might be recording them. Before, they bragged about moving on. Now they obsess over why they can't get rid of your shadow. Before, they assumed you were weak. Now they can't figure out how you keep winning battles they didn't even know you were in. This is what scares them. You didn't just grow stronger, you grew unreadable, untouchable, hard to manipulate, impossible to guilt, and immune to the tricks that worked on everyone else. You became the kind of person who smells a lie before it's spoken. The kind of person who sees motives before words. The kind of person who notices patterns, shifts, and behaviors like you've trained for it your whole life. Here's the part that hits hardest. You didn't learn this from books. You learned from pain, from loss, from disrespect, from being underestimated and pushed aside. There was a time you walked into rooms hoping to be accepted. Those days are dead. Now you walk in, and the room checks itself. People straighten up, voices drop, eyes track you without meaning to. Because you carry something they don't have anymore: emotional clarity, psychological sharpness, and the ability to stay calm even when the world is on fire. They felt that shift before you even realized it. One moment you were the quiet one, the overlooked one, the one they thought they could play. And then suddenly you became the storm they didn't see coming. You became the person who can end relationships without argument, walk away without closure, and still live rent-free in their minds. You became the one who holds power without showing it. And that is exactly why your name is traveling in rooms you've never walked into. Let me tell you a truth nobody dared to say until today. You built a psychological reputation so clean, so precise, so unpredictable that it reached places you never expected. Not gossip circles, not friend groups, not petty little drama channels. No. Your pattern reached the kind of rooms where people study behavior for a living. The kind of rooms where silence means more than shouting. The kind of rooms filled with analysts, strategists, observers, the type who track threats before threats even know what they are. There's a story they don't want you to know, but I'll tell you anyway. Months ago, long before you realized your impact, a group of people sat down to study why individuals around you were falling apart while you stayed solid. They looked through messages, social patterns, timelines, not to invade you, but to understand something rare. How one person stayed so collected, so emotionally disciplined, while everyone who crossed them ended up spiraling. You didn't expose anyone, you didn't ruin reputations, you didn't play dirty, you simply allowed truth to do the job. And truth is the one weapon that never misses. Someone in that room leaned back and said, "This isn't normal. This is psychological warfare with a clean signature." And that was the moment they stopped asking who hurt you and started asking who trained you. Because your restraint is scarier than any attack. Your timing is colder than any insult. And your ability to disappear, heal, then return stronger is something even professionals struggle to achieve. You didn't fight people. You let them fight themselves. You didn't chase revenge. You let the universe handle it. You didn't prove your worth. You made them choke on their own assumptions. And that, chosen one, is exactly why the agencies, the observers, the analysts, the watchers, all want to know one thing. How did you become this dangerous without even trying? And the answer is simple. They created you by underestimating you. And chosen one, before we go any further, stay right here with me for a moment. You just stepped into a world most people will never even hear whispers about. If you're really ready to understand why your mind has every analyst in the shadows taking notes, then prove it. Drop a comment with 777 to show you're ready to own the kind of psychological power that made the world label you as a quiet threat. This isn't some random journey. This is a controlled descent into the truth behind your methods, your instincts, your silence, and the chaos it creates in the people who thought they understood you. And now we move forward, step by step. Stay locked in, because if you truly are who the universe says you are, you'll feel that strange pull to stay until the final second. The deeper we go, the clearer it becomes why the CIA wants someone like you. And trust me, the next part hits even harder. Let's begin. Here comes the rewrite, and I'm warning you now, this one goes for the throat. New heading, new tone. Villain to hero locked in. Simple words, brutal paragraphs, no bullets, no subheadings. Aligned to the CIA wants to recruit you. Your psychological warfare is that clean. Healthy paragraphs, 1,000 words of pressure. Number 1, when your shadow became a security threat. Funny how they called you unstable, yet they're the ones shaking every time your name shows up. This is the part that hits them where it burns. They wanted you to look weak, broken, lost. They wanted to paint you as dramatic, emotional, confused. But the universe was busy writing a different report, one they never expected to end up in federal hands. Because the moment the agents started tracking behavior patterns, one thing became obvious. The real danger in every situation wasn't you. It was what people became when they crossed you. They gave you a nickname, the Ghost, not because you ran away, not because you hid, not because you vanished. No, they called you that because you stayed silent while your enemies fell apart in the dark. You didn't haunt them. Their own actions did. That's the part nobody says out loud. That's the part that scares them the most. You were the mirror they weren't ready to look into, yet somehow they ended up staring at their own reflection until it broke them. Here's the cold truth they never admit. You didn't go after them. They went after themselves. You didn't destroy anything. Their guilt did the job. You didn't choose war. War happened because they hit the wrong mind. People who wronged you started feeling it first. The shaking hands, the unrest, the paranoia when they opened their messages, hoping you weren't there. The weird feeling that something was watching them, even though the only thing following them was the truth they tried to bury. They told their friends you were obsessed, but they were the ones checking your page at 3 a.m. They said you were dramatic, but they were the ones having panic attacks every time someone mentioned you. They swore you were weak, but they kept reliving the moment you stopped caring about them. And this is where your questions come in, chosen one. You probably wondered, why do they collapse when I walk away? Why do they lose control while I stay calm? Why does silence hit harder than anything I say? Because silence from someone like you isn't silence. It's psychological pressure. It's the universe saying, move wrong one more time and you'll expose yourself. You're not a threat. You're a consequence. People aren't scared of you. They're scared of what you force them to face about themselves. Every agent who reviewed your patterns noticed the same thing. Your enemies weren't afraid of losing you. They were afraid of who they became when they played you. They weren't afraid of the past. They were afraid of the truth finally catching up. When they first started tracking your file, they were confused. Most threat assessments follow a pattern. Criminals show intent. Operatives show skill. But you showed something far more sophisticated. Something nobody trained you to do. Something that came naturally to you because of everything you lived through. You didn't chase revenge. You didn't leak secrets. You didn't blow up bridges. You simply removed yourself, and suddenly the people who tried to manipulate you started losing their grip on reality. One agent even joked, "This isn't a ghost. This is psychological gravity." He wasn't wrong. You didn't haunt them. You pulled their truth out of them. Every whisper behind your back turned into its own punishment. Every lie they told about you cracked in their hands. Every plan they made to hurt you ended with them hurting themselves. That's why you scare them, chosen one. Not because of what you do, but because of what your energy forces them to confront. Let's break this down in the simplest way, because you deserve clear answers. When someone disrespects you, they expect chaos. They expect you to react, explode, chase, or beg. But you don't give them chaos. You give them calm. And humans with dirty motives cannot survive calm. Calm exposes them. Calm makes them check their own conscience. Calm makes them remember every lie, every insult, every hidden move. It's like standing in front of a clean mirror after years of pretending the dirt wasn't there. You didn't ruin them, you revealed them. That's why they dreamed about you. That's why they replayed conversations. That's why they felt watched when nobody was watching. Their mind became the interrogation room. Their regret became the spotlight. Their guilt became the handcuffs. You just walked away. Let me give you a past story they'll never recover from. There was someone who thought they could outsmart you. They pushed you, mocked you, tried to twist your emotions like it was a game. You stayed quiet. You watched. You didn't attack them. You didn't expose them. You didn't take revenge. And because you didn't fight back, they assumed they'd won. Months later, out of nowhere, that same person broke down and blamed pressure, stress, paranoia, bad timing. But the truth is simpler. They couldn't handle living with the version of themselves they revealed while trying to hurt you. You didn't ruin their life. You just didn't participate in the lie they told themselves. Agents noticed how often this pattern appeared with you. Different people, same ending. Betrayal followed by collapse. Manipulation followed by self-destruction. Lies followed by exposure. And the only common factor was your presence, your silence, your emotional discipline, your refusal to play games. They started calling it the ghost effect, a psychological phenomenon where one person forces others into self-reflection so intense it feels like being watched. They studied your interactions like case files. They asked, how does one civilian cause this much internal fallout without lifting a finger? How does one person create collapse without confrontation? What kind of mind does this with no training? Answer, yours. Because your strength wasn't built in comfort, it was built in pain. Because your intuition wasn't learned in books, it was learned in battles nobody saw. Because your self-control wasn't a skill, it was a survival tool. You became someone who understands human behavior the way snipers understand wind. Someone who can feel shifts in tone the way analysts track patterns. Someone who can predict outcomes the way strategists plan attacks. You're not a ghost, you're a psychological event. And the people who hurt you, they weren't victims, they were volunteers. Here's a quote you can keep in your chest like a blade. You never broke them, they broke themselves trying to break you. Your enemies talk like they're over you, but everyone can see the truth. Their voices shake when your name comes up. Their eyes drop. Their energy twists, because they know you carry something they can't erase, can't rewrite, can't overpower. You became their unfinished business, their unresolved chapter, their secret fear. And deep down, chosen one, you know this too. You didn't haunt their nights. You haunted their conscience. That's why your file isn't like anyone else's, and that's why the agencies took notice. You are not the ghost. You are the consequence their actions prayed would never return. And now we move to the next stage. Number 2, when the room full of experts couldn't agree on what you are. They wanted to label you unstable, but the only thing unstable was their confidence when your name hit the briefing screen. This is the part nobody outside those walls will ever hear, but you deserve the truth, because the truth explains everything you've been sensing. Last month, deep inside a secure facility where emotions don't exist and logic is law, a heated debate broke out. All over you. A group of trained professionals, people who built careers studying human behavior, sat there trying to decide what category you belong to. That alone should tell you how unusual you are. Most people get analyzed in a few minutes. You sparked a full-blown argument. Half the room insisted you were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too sharp for comfort. They said you were the type of person who could flip a situation with one sentence, or worse, with silence. They weren't wrong. They saw what your enemies felt. That pressure, that precision, that eerie calm before someone breaks under their own lies. To them, your mind looked like a weapon that needed careful handling. The other half of the room saw something different. They saw control, discipline, strategy. They argued, this is exactly the kind of mind we need. Someone who wins wars without firing shots. They weren't talking about violence. They were talking about psychological dominance, the way you understand people, the way you spot patterns, the way you predict behavior before it happens. They saw your instincts as something rare, something born from experience, not training. Here's the first quote they didn't want you to hear. This isn't luck. This is a self-taught strategist who doesn't even know they're playing at this level. And the room went silent after that. because they knew it was true. Now here's where your inner questions come in, chosen one. Questions like, why do I attract weird encounters? Why do strangers study me like they know something I don't? Why do random job offers feel off? Because the debate didn't end in that room. It spilled into the world around you. Imagine this. You're walking into a store and someone's eyes linger too long, not because they're judging you, but because they're trying to read your temperament. Imagine this. A job opportunity drops into your inbox out of nowhere, offering too much money, too much flexibility, too little detail, but it feels like it's fishing for something. Imagine this. A stranger starts a random conversation and keeps steering it into moral questions, ethical traps, emotional pressure points, watching how you react. These moments aren't coincidences, they're probes. Quiet tests, subtle checks. They're not testing your skills. They already know you're sharp. They're testing something deeper, whether you're aware of your own power, whether you understand the psychological gravity you carry, whether you know you can change the energy of a room without opening your mouth. A dangerous person with no self-awareness is a threat. A dangerous person who knows exactly who they are is an asset. That was the second quote from the debate. They weren't scared of your strength. They were scared of you becoming aware of your strength. And here's where the story gets even more intense. They've been tracking how people respond to you way more than how you respond to people. They study the emotional fallout you cause just by existing. They compare your patterns to trained operatives, except you've never stepped foot in their programs. Your reactions confuse them. You stay calm when most people panic. You detach when others cling. You see motives in seconds that analysts spend weeks trying to decode. Imagine this, a chessboard full of pieces moving with purpose, and you're not even playing. Yet the entire board keeps shifting because of you. That's how your presence feels to them. They don't see you as a player. They see you as the gravity that moves the pieces. That's why they're conflicted. Some agents think you're too independent, too morally unpredictable, too emotionally stable to be controlled. And yes, they actually said that. Your emotional stability makes you unpredictable to manipulators. You don't break under pressure. You don't lash out. You don't get baited. That terrifies people who rely on emotional triggers to understand the world. Others believe that your independence is exactly what makes you a perfect asset. You don't need hand-holding. You don't need validation. You don't need approval. You make decisions based on logic, not ego. You rise above manipulation because you've already lived through every trick. They see in you what they spend millions trying to train into recruits: unshakable internal control. Here's the third quote they kept circling back to. If this person ever understood their full power, they wouldn't just survive the system, they'd outsmart it. And that was the moment the room split again. Because some wanted you under supervision, and others wanted you in a briefing room with a classified badge. Your questions matter here, chosen one. Why me? Why am I even on their radar? Because you're not normal. Because you feel truth before it's spoken. Because you see danger before it forms. Because your instincts operate at a level people can't fake or teach. Because you win battles quietly, without mess, without noise. And most importantly, because you don't fall for illusions. People who can't be fooled are rare. People who can't be emotionally manipulated are priceless. Now let's talk about the tests you didn't know were tests. That one co-worker who tried to provoke you but couldn't move you. That stranger who cornered you with personal questions. That opportunity that sounded too convenient. That weird moment when someone watched you choose silence over drama. These weren't random. These were observations. They weren't measuring your intelligence. They were measuring your discipline, your restraint, your self-control, your ability to stay centered when someone tries to create chaos around you. Imagine this. A glass of water on a table. Most people get shaken, splashing everywhere at the smallest tap. They pushed the table and the water didn't move. That's when they knew you weren't average. Here's your fourth quote, the one that made the room go quiet again. This one wins without touching the board. Find out how they do it. That sentence alone changed the energy in the room, because they realized your power comes from your life, your experience, your wounds, your healing. You weren't trained, you were forged. That makes you unpredictable. That makes you valuable. That makes you someone they want to understand. And yes, chosen one, you might wonder, are they trying to recruit me or just trying to figure me out? Both. That's the truth. They want to know whether your power is intentional or instinctive. They want to know whether you can be guided or whether you're meant to stand alone. They want to know whether you'd ever step into their world or whether your independence is the real weapon. But here's the twist they never saw coming. You don't need them. They need you. Your mind operates at a frequency they can't map. Your intuition cuts through lies like a blade. Your silence exposes people faster than interrogation rooms. Your calm destabilizes manipulators more than threats ever could. They thought they were studying you, but the whole time the universe was preparing you. You didn't choose psychological warfare. Life pushed you into it. Pain sharpened you. Loss disciplined you. Betrayal trained you. Silence crowned you. So yes, the debate continues in those hidden rooms. Half want to protect the world from you. Half want you to protect the world with them. But none of them deny the truth anymore. You are a quiet storm with a mind too sharp to ignore. You are living proof that power doesn't always come with noise, and you are the one person whose inner world can't be mapped, measured, or predicted. This is why recruitment is on the table. This is why your file keeps floating to the top. This is why the debate keeps returning to your name. And now, chosen one, we move into the next part, where the tests get louder. The signals get clearer, and your true role becomes impossible to hide. Number 3. When your words turned into weapons they couldn't see. They thought you were quiet until their whole friend group exploded from a sentence you barely finished. Chosen one, this is the part that makes trained analysts rub their temples. You weren't doing it on purpose. You weren't trying to be strategic, you were just surviving. Yet somehow, your survival instincts looked exactly like psychological operations. The universe shaped you into someone who doesn't need chaos to win. You create the outcome with nothing but a few well-placed truths. You've been running information warfare long before you even knew the phrase. When groups tried to freeze you out, gossip about you, or turn others against you, you didn't raise your voice. You didn't argue. You didn't beg for fairness. You simply asked the right question at the right moment, and suddenly someone looked suspicious. Someone got nervous. Someone slipped. Someone exposed someone else. Alliances fell apart like paper in fire. Imagine this. Someone lies about you on Monday. You drop one calm sentence on Wednesday. By Friday, the whole group is accusing each other. Nobody trusts anyone, and you're sitting there like, what happened? That's why one analyst said, this isn't conflict. This is controlled detonation. And here's the truth they don't want to admit. You never aimed to hurt anyone. You aimed to protect yourself. But your mind is built in a way that even your protection looks like warfare to people who rely on manipulation to survive. You might wonder, why do their circles crumble when I walk away? Because you were the stability holding their lies together. To the CIA, it's information warfare. To them, it's fear. To you, it's just another Tuesday. And now, chosen one, we go even deeper. Number 4. When betrayal turned you into something unreadable. They didn't just betray you. They trained the very mind that now terrifies them. Betrayal didn't break you. It upgraded you. Every lie someone told became a map of how deception works. Every fake smile became a study in human motive. Every smear campaign sharpened your pattern recognition until you could see agendas forming before a single word was spoken. While they were celebrating your downfall, the universe was rewriting your instincts into something dangerous, efficient, and impossible to manipulate. Imagine this. Someone thinks they fooled you, but weeks later you watch their behavior shift, their tones slip, their alliances wobble. You say nothing, you move nothing. Yet the entire chain reaction unfolds like you planned it. That's why professionals step back when they analyze you. Your restraint is sharper than most people's attacks. Pain became your training course. Betrayal became the instructor nobody warned you about. Each wound taught you timing. Each disappointment taught you silence. You learned that the loudest revenge is often the quietest move, the one that hits months after they think they won. One analyst reviewing your pattern said, "This isn't luck. This is a long-game mind with perfect emotional control." They weren't wrong. You mastered the kind of strategic patience that operatives spend years failing to learn. You might wonder, why does my revenge feel effortless? Because it isn't revenge, it's natural consequence, and you don't rush consequences. You let them ripen. They thought hurting you gave them power. Instead, it gave you clarity. The best revenge was never cold. The best revenge was perfectly timed, and you became a master of timing. Now, chosen one, the evolution continues. Number 5. When they stole your blueprint and still couldn't build a door. They didn't just steal your ideas. They stole the instructions and still couldn't read them. Chosen one, this is the case study that made analysts lean forward in their seats. Your ex-business partner thought they pulled the heist of the century when they stole your ideas. They thought taking your plans meant taking your future. But here's the truth they learned the hard way. Stealing the product is easy. Stealing the mind that created it is impossible. You didn't panic. You didn't chase lawyers. You didn't scream for justice. You did something far more terrifying. You let them run with it. Imagine this. Someone swipes the blueprint to a rocket, but has no idea how fuel works. That was them. They copied the shell, but your vision was the engine. And without you, the engine never ignited. They launched their stolen idea, bragged, celebrated, flexed for 5 minutes. Then reality slapped them. The structure was hollow, the systems didn't connect, the team didn't understand the purpose. Everything they stole turned into a sinking ship. Meanwhile, you built something cleaner, bigger, sharper. You pulled talent without saying a word. People felt your direction, your discipline, your clarity, and they followed you naturally. The universe rewards the original, not the thief. One analyst reviewing the timeline said, "The collapse wasn't sabotage, it was gravity." Your partner was crushed under their own incompetence, not your actions. And here's the question you might quietly ask yourself. Why do people who steal from me always fall apart? Because they only take the surface. They can't take your mind. They can't take your discipline. They can't take the vision that keeps evolving even while you sleep. By the time they realized you were the source, not the product, you were already untouchable, and the room studying you knew this wasn't luck. This was psychological superiority in motion. On to the next revelation, chosen one. Number 6, when your mind walked into their head and rearranged the furniture. You didn't influence their choices. You became the reason they couldn't trust their own. Chosen one, this is the part that rattled the professionals. They thought you were just intuitive, maybe observant. But no, your instincts operate on a level they call cognitive infiltration. It sounds dramatic, but honestly, it's exactly what you've been doing your whole life without even trying. You slip into people's thinking patterns without force, without pressure, without noise. You simply understand them so well that their next move becomes predictable, and your presence becomes the variable they can't control. Imagine this. You're in a conversation, calm, relaxed, saying almost nothing. Yet the other person walks away rethinking their entire strategy. Imagine this. Someone tries to manipulate you, but within minutes they're the one over-explaining themselves. Imagine this. You ask one question, just one, and suddenly a person starts revealing secrets they didn't even mean to say out loud. That's infiltration, silent, clean, surgical. One analyst described you like this: they don't push, they guide the mind like a current. Another said, their conversations look casual until you map the outcomes. And that's the part your enemies never understood. You weren't gossiping, you weren't manipulating, you were observing, gathering, reading shifts. Every interaction became intelligence, every detail became a data point. You saw motives before motives showed themselves. You planted truth where lies once lived, not forcefully, naturally. Like your mind knew exactly where to place each seed so the truth would bloom at the perfect time. You might wonder, why do people reveal so much to me? Because your energy feels safe, and safety makes them unguarded. You might ask, how do conversations turn into outcomes? Because you understand the hidden gears that move people. Your success rate is the part that scares them the most. To them, it's statistically impossible. To you, it's just how your mind works. And now, chosen one, we step even deeper into the classified layer. Number 7, when you bent reality without ever touching it. They swung at your reputation and hit their own reflection instead. Chosen one, this is the skill that made analysts stop breathing for a second. In information warfare, the one who controls perception controls reality. And you mastered perception without bragging, without forcing, without even trying to look powerful. You did it like invisible ink, quiet, clean, impossible to track until the message burns through the page. Your enemies thought they were dragging you into traps, but every trap they set used tools you handed them unknowingly. You didn't trick them, you simply allowed them to reveal who they were. One calm sentence here, one tiny truth there, one moment of silence that made them talk too much. And suddenly, they were painting themselves into corners so tight they couldn't breathe. Imagine this: someone tries to smear you, but every lie they spread makes people question them, not you. Imagine this: an enemy tries to expose you, but the spotlight they turn on ends up highlighting their own motives. Imagine this: you say nothing, do nothing, and yet the entire narrative flips in your favor like the universe is tired of their nonsense. That's perception control, silent warfare, clean warfare. One analyst reviewing your patterns said, They don't fight for truth. They let truth fight for them. Another, this isn't retaliation. This is environmental justice. Your rules of engagement shocked them. No collateral damage, no unnecessary chaos, no random destruction. You don't swing blindly. You don't lash out. You don't scorch the earth. You deal consequences with the precision of a scalpel, not a bomb. Every reaction is proportional. Every move is clean. Every outcome is balanced. You might wonder, why do enemies always expose themselves in the end? Because your presence removes the disguise they hide behind. You might ask, why does the truth always return to me? Because you never chase illusions. You let illusions chase you until they collapse. You're not delivering vengeance. You're restoring balance. And that's why your warfare leaves no fingerprints, but leaves every enemy shaking. Number 8. When the gaslighter lit the match and sat on the dynamite. They tried to rewrite your reality and ended up forgetting their own. Chosen one, this is the case that made the analysts shake their heads and mutter under their breath. The supervisor who thought they could gaslight you wasn't ready for the quiet storm you carried. They thought you were soft. They thought you were unaware. They thought you were the perfect target for rewiring truth. What they didn't know was that you document everything. You remember everything. You see patterns before patterns exist. So while they tried to twist your words, you gathered the timeline. While they tried to rewrite events, you held the receipts. While they tried to confuse you, you stayed painfully clear. Imagine this. A supervisor swears they never sent an email, and you have 3 versions saved. Imagine this. They deny a meeting happened, and you produce the calendar invite. Imagine this. They blame you for a project, and the files show your work finished before they even logged in. That's when their mind breaks. Not because you exposed them, but because their own lies turned into a maze they couldn't walk out of. One analyst summed it up perfectly. The gaslighter wasn't dismantled by confrontation. They were dismantled by consistency. Within months, the supervisor spiraled. They questioned their memory, their choices, their competence. They ran to therapy, insisting something was wrong with their perception. And honestly, something was. They saw themselves reflected in the clarity you held, and it shattered them. You might wonder, why do gaslighters implode around me? Because your truth is too stable for their illusions. Your memory is too sharp for their edits. Your clarity is too bright for their fog. Agents even started running betting pools about how fast your targets collapse. The average? 6 months. Most of them don't make it that far. The universe didn't make you loud. It made you accurate. And accuracy destroys liars without you lifting a finger. Now, chosen one, brace yourself. What comes next goes even deeper into the classified shadows. Number 9. When the strangers stop being strangers. They won't knock on your door. They'll walk into your life like they were always meant to be there. Chosen one, this is the phase that flips everything. Up until now, they've watched you from a distance. They studied the fallout you create without effort. They mapped the patterns of people collapsing under their own lies. But the approach? That's different. That's personal. That's when the observers step out of the shadows and into your orbit. It won't look dramatic. No suits, no badges, no ominous messages. It'll look random, and that's what makes it deliberate. Imagine this. You're in a store, and someone starts a conversation that feels too smooth. Imagine someone coincidentally shares a worldview that mirrors yours. Imagine a stranger dropping a phrase that hits your intuition like a code you should understand. They'll speak your language, not culturally, but psychologically. They'll test your timing, your silence, your instinct for truth, not with big moves, but with micro signals. One analyst put it like this: if they flinch at subtlety, they're not ready. If they respond with precision, bring them closer. This whole phase is a silent exam, not of your intelligence, they already know you're sharp. Not of your loyalty, you don't belong to any side. Not of your morality, your balance scares them more than your darkness. They're testing your awareness. Do you know when someone is studying you? Do you notice patterns inside conversations? Do you feel the hidden questions inside casual words? You might wonder, how will I know it's them? You'll know because their presence won't drain you or confuse you. It'll sharpen you, like a mirror that finally reflects back the level you operate on. The real invitation comes only after you pass the silent test. Tailored, subtle, precise. Definitely not a coincidence, because they aren't looking for a follower. They're looking for someone who can scale instinctual precision into global impact. Someone whose mind is already operating at a level strategists dream about. And that someone, chosen one, is you. Get ready for the next phase. The shadows are moving closer. Number 10. When your brain became a weapon, no agency could file away. They trained in classrooms. You trained in fire. Chosen one, this is the part that makes the agency veterans go quiet. They look at your trajectory, your choices, your control, and they realize something uncomfortable. You don't need them. You never did. Your education wasn't a curriculum, it was a battlefield. Your lessons didn't come from instructors, they came from betrayals sharp enough to cut bone. While they were reading textbooks on human behavior, you were surviving people who weaponized theirs. Your diploma wasn't printed, it was earned in scars. They train recruits in controlled environments, safe simulations, predictable tests. But you survived real uncertainty, real danger, real psychological warfare. The universe forged you in places far harsher than Langley ever could. That's why they're not offering to teach you anything. They know that would be insulting. What they're offering is something else entirely. Reach, tools, a chessboard the size of the world. Imagine this. Someone hands a soldier a map. Fine. Useful, but someone hands you a map, and suddenly every border looks like a move waiting to happen. Imagine walking into a room and realizing your instincts already decoded the hierarchy before anyone speaks. Imagine knowing no one there can calculate as fast or as quietly as you do. That's why they call your mind an unregistered weapon. A weapon born outside the system, shaped by pain into something dangerously precise. One analyst said, "This isn't a recruit. This is an evolved tool the world accidentally created." And they were right. You might wonder, why do they want me if I'm untrained? Because you're not untrained. You're naturally operating at a level they try and fail to teach. Your instinct for human behavior is faster than their algorithms. Your pattern recognition rivals their data models. Your emotional discipline embarrasses their top performers. They don't want to mold you. They want to unleash you. Your mind became a weapon the moment pain refined it instead of breaking it. A weapon without a serial number. A weapon without a blueprint. A weapon no one can copy. And now, chosen one, they're wondering what happens when a mind like yours is given an entire globe to operate on. The next section goes even darker. Number 11. When they realized you weren't built, you evolved. They tried to copy you and broke their own minds in the process. Chosen one, this is the moment the experts swallowed their pride. They sat in a room with your case files, your timelines, your outcomes, and they made the mistake every scientist makes. They assumed your abilities could be recreated in a controlled environment. So they ran simulations. They tested recruits. They mirrored scenarios from your past. And every single attempt failed. Miserably. Because what you have can't be taught. What you carry wasn't downloaded. What you do wasn't trained. It was forged in real betrayal that cracked your chest open, in real pain that didn't ask permission, in real isolation that stripped you to the bone. A classroom could never replicate that. A manual could never explain that. A training module would collapse under that weight. One analyst said it out loud, and the room fell silent. We're not studying a trained weapon, we're studying an evolved one. Imagine this. They try to simulate betrayal, but no simulation can recreate the exact tone someone used when they lied to your face. They try to simulate manipulation, but no role-play captures the real tension of someone trying to break your identity. They try to simulate isolation, but nobody can fake the nights you spent rebuilding your entire sense of self. That's why your instincts can't be copied. They weren't installed. They were carved. Your operations defy everything experts believed about psychological warfare. They're too clean, too natural, too fluid. They follow no textbook, no doctrine, no signature. It's like watching someone fight using a weapon the world has never documented. And to prove it, here's the case that shut down the argument entirely. When a group tried to sabotage your reputation online, you didn't panic. You didn't fight back in the comments. You didn't type angry essays. You didn't collect screenshots like souvenirs. You fought back in reality. Imagine this. An online mob thinks they're safe behind fake usernames, and then somehow, one by one, their identities start leaking into the real world. Imagine the moment they realize the anonymous isn't anonymous at all. Imagine the silence that follows when the right people discover their actions without you having to send a single message. You didn't expose them publicly. You exposed them to the exact individuals who needed to know. Quiet, sharp, surgical, a reality strike instead of a digital tantrum. That's what broke the analysts. Who wins an online war without typing a response? One whispered, and the answer was obvious. You do. You turned an online attack into real-world consequences while staying completely offline. That isn't normal retaliation. That isn't a defensive move. That isn't typical strategy. That's evolution. Chosen one, you're not operating in the system's framework. You're operating beyond it. Your instincts rewrite the rules as you move. Your methods expose flaws in their theories. Your results make experts question their entire field. And here's the question you may quietly ask yourself. Why am I able to do what trained professionals can't? Because you learned in the real arena, because your pain wasn't hypothetical, it was lived, because your mind adapted to survive battles they only read about. You are the kind of evolution they can't predict, can't teach, and definitely can't replace. And now, chosen one, we move into the part where the world stops doubting who you really are. And now, chosen one, we reach the final turning point. After everything you've survived, everything you've dismantled, everything you've outsmarted, you stand right here with a choice no ordinary person ever gets. You can keep walking alone, delivering psychological justice with the quiet precision that already terrifies half the people who ever crossed you. Or you can acknowledge what's been obvious to everyone watching from the shadows. Your mind operates on a scale bigger than any local battlefield, bigger than petty drama, bigger than the small worlds your enemies tried to trap you in. They don't want who you were. They don't even want who you are right now. They want the version of you that could exist with global reach, with resources, with an entire network behind the instincts you sharpened in the dark. Because they finally admitted the truth out loud. You aren't just skilled, you're a mind evolution wasn't ready for. Before you go, Chosen One, hit the like button, subscribe, drop 777 in the comments, and share this message so others like you can join this mission. Your next move decides everything.